of the Verde Valley. For our purposes, Sedona, Village of Oak Creek, Camp Verde, and Cottonwood. And I also will be referring to a couple of species, more alpine, up in the canyons, Boyd Canyon, Oak Creek Canyon, and up on Mingus on a wonderful trail called the Butterfly Trail. So I love this quote. I want to sing what the birds sing, not worrying about who hears or what they think. That's Ruby. And one of the things I love about birding is it inspires me, it teaches me. They're role models. They're courageous. They fly thousands and thousands of miles against all sorts of odds, and they get here and they sing. And they're intelligent. And just watching them and being with them, I learned so much about myself as a person. And it's just an honor to be with them. This is a song sparrow. And you can go out to bubbling ponds right now with the Sedona wetlands, and you can see this very thing. Okay, a couple of resources before I get started. eBird.org. How many of you knew eBird? Okay. This is the #1 resource in the world, online resource, started in 2002. This is where scientists are getting all their data from our checklist, individual checklists from around the world on trends, abundance, numbers, health. This is an incredible resource that we have now with this technology. Birdsoftheworld.org is another one. Every single bird that has been recorded in the world, over 11,000 species, you can go on there and put it in there and learn. Just opens up everything you can imagine on that bird. Our local chapter is Northern Arizona Audubon Society. We have field trips year-round, except for the month of December when we have our Christmas bird counts. But you can go on the calendar right now and look at a field trip, show up. It's a great way to learn about birds, meet other birders. Rich, you want to make an announcement?
I'm Rich Armstrong. I'm the field trip leader for Northern Arizona Audubon Society. She's going to talk about the rest. But this Saturday, we at the Sedona Wetlands, in conjunction with the SciTech, we are going to have what we call the Sedona Wetlands Fun Day. Everybody will get the chance to look at birds through a scope. We will have bird games for kids, bird drawings for kids. A guy with the reptiles is going to be there. It's sponsored by the sewage treatment plant, Roxanne. It's sponsored by Parks and Rec. 10 to 1, free. Stop by for 20 minutes or a couple of hours. 10 to 1, Sedona Wetlands Fun Day.
Thanks, Rich. He doesn't need one of these. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there's a bunch of free handouts here that I brought that you're welcome to take. And then there's some books of mine that you are interested in looking at. So upcoming Verde Valley Birding and Nature Festival at the end of April. A lot of fun field trips all over the Verde Valley. Really fun. Check it out. Right? Okay.
Oops.
Okay. Okay. Birding in Arizona. Arizona is an amazing state to bird in. I had no idea when I moved here. Not including Alaska, it is the 3rd state in the United States. Top state to bird in, #3. California, #1. Texas, #2. Arizona, #3. Yavapai County, which includes the Prescott, Willow, Watson Lakes, and down to Black Canyon, total of 397 species recorded. And I put a figure of about 330 in the Verde Valley. So why is Arizona such a good place to bird? We don't have a coastline. Why are we so good? Well, one of the #1 reasons is our proximity to Mexico. So these are 3 examples. We have the Gila woodpecker, the bridal titmice, which are resident common birds that you can get out in the riparian areas, and those are their ranges. So people come here from all over the world to bird because of this bird and this bird. You don't have to go to Mexico. Another great bird we get here is the common black hawk, which is mostly a summer bird for us. Actually, we have a wintering individual that's been out there all winter. So proximity to Mexico. The other great reason is the habitat that we have in the Verde Valley. And because Arizona has 6 biomes, starting at the Mojave, Chihuahuan deserts, coming up the lower Sonoran, all the way up to Alpine. So 6 biomes, and within those biomes are multiple habitats, lots of birds. Hey, Arizona is in the Pacific Flyway Migration Corridor. Here we are right here. And these are like big highways in the sky across the United States. So all these neotropical birds come up from South America, Central America, Mexico. They're coming up all the way up. Some of them go as far as Alaska to breed, and back and forth they go, spring, fall. And it's just, all birds migrate at night. Almost all birds migrate at night. And there's a really cool website that is new called birdcast.info. And when things get heated up with migration, the birds start really moving. You can go on there, put Yavapai County, and you can see how many birds flew over Yavapai County the following night. So it's really exciting that they are already on the move. Northern rough-winged swallows, violet-winged swallows, turkey vultures, our summer birds are already showing up. And it's just February. So real exciting time. Seasonal birding. We bird all year long here. All year long. It's great all year long. Spring migration is just around the corner. You can kind of feel spring in the air. And being a birder, I can feel the excitement of the birds. Not just the winter birds that are getting ready to head north. By the way, they're practicing their songs, tuning up for when they get to their breeding grounds. You can feel their excitement, but you can also feel kind of the excitement of the birds coming up here. So spring migration has got a real intensity about it with birds. Purpose. Whoops. These birds are just hardwired to get to their breeding grounds to breed. Breeding season, April through August. This is the big event for these birds. Birders love this. This is when, oh gosh, this is the singing and the chasing and the territorial disputes and fledglings, kids chasing parents, males chasing males, girls chasing boys, boys chasing girls, just all sorts of activity with these birds. It's really, really exciting to be a part of it. Lots of singing. I love it. Fall migration is more languid, it's more relaxed. These birds are tired, they're exhausted. It could take a bird coming up from, say, Costa Rica, maybe 40 days to get to Arizona. And in the fall, it might take them 2 months. So there's no hurry in the fall. Winter, which we are still in. Most of our winter birds are still here, except for a lot of our waterfowl has already pushed north. And some of our warblers and other winter birds have already headed north. Okay, here's a breakdown. 40% of our birds are residents. They live here. They don't migrate. They may do little local movements around the Verde Valley, but they're not migrant birds. And if you have in your backyard, if you have a water source, nesting boxes, some flowering plants, some good habitat, maybe some good feeders, you will have resident birds make that their home. 30% of birds are summer migrants. These are all the really sexy, tropical, colorful birds coming up from the tropics. Can't wait till they get here. It's like your friends are coming back. 20% are winter birds, which are still here. These guys coming up from the north in fall migration, and a lot of them plant themselves in the Verde Valley. This is their winter territory. 10% are transients or vagrants. Transients are birds that are coming through the area. They don't breed here. They don't winter here. They're either going up north to breed or going south to winter, and they'll drop down and feed and rest here. Vagrants are always exciting. These birds are like way out of their range when they show up. It's always exciting. Usually vagrants, sometimes they're shorebirds. Okay, where do we bird? In the Verde Valley. Some of these places look familiar to you. They're all around water except for the stupa. The stupa is a great place to bird, by the way, because they've got feeders. It's just kind of a magical place anyway, and about it, the birds like it there. So these are all great places to bird, hot spots, and all have wonderful birding activity year round. Okay, briefly, I'm just gonna go over this really briefly on bird identification, because there's several markers that we can use, because sometimes you won't have one and you might have the other. So the most normal one for most people is just using their eyes visually. Gist is a term, it's just kind of a general impression, size or shape. Sometimes you'll just see a bird fly or on a wire or on a pole or on a perch, and you kind of get a general feel of what kind of species that is. So size, shape, color, profile, plumage, wing beat, wing, flight pattern, those are all visual clues we get. But a lot of times you don't see the birds, especially when these deciduous trees leaf up. A lot of birds up there, like warblers, are going to be up there singing and singing and singing, but you may not see them. Warblers are the bane of birds. So it's good to learn your songs and your calls. There are also a lot of species that like to stay kind of in the real thick brush where you can't see them, like Bill's vireos and chats, and they're down there. Sometimes you can't see those, but you'll hear them. So learn your calls, learn your songs. There's so many reasons behind communication with birds. Why are birds singing? What are they saying to each other? The calls, the alarms, the flight calls, the contact calls. It's just a whole amazing world of communication that just learn about it, the more fascinating it is. Behavior is the one I use most. What is the bird doing? Is it clinging onto the trunk of a tree or a branch, kind of foraging and pecking like a woodpecker? Is it foraging on the ground like a towhee, spotted towhee, or a dark-eyed junco, or a canyon towhee, or a robin or a hermit thrush? Is it up in the air flying like an eagle or a hawk? Is it going straight up the trunk like a creeper? Is it on a perch by a body of water, going up to get a fly, down, up to get a fly, down, like catcher? So you watch a bird's behavior, and without even knowing the species, you'll know what class it is. Habitat and setting, huge. Learn your habitats, you'll learn your birds. It's really that simple. And the Verde Valley, we are blessed with all these different habitats. Look at that. Different habitats, different birds. And then finally, migrant status, resident, summer, winter, or transient. Okay, let's get to the birds. We all love this guy, right? The greater roadrunner. This is a fierce hunter, super intelligent bird, very poor flyer, but is amazing on the ground, about 17 miles an hour. They eat rattlesnakes, and they can jump about 4.5 feet in the air and grab a hummingbird, which I've seen. They will also eat their young if they're starving. And Gamble's quail. We all love these guys, right? and pretty soon now we're going to hear that Chicago, and that's him sitting up. So quail are actually a very fragile bird. Their lifespan is only about 18 months. That being because there are so many predators. And because they have such a fast metabolism, they have to be eating all the time. So appreciate these guys and love them, because they're just precious little creatures. And yeah. Okay, this is a bird that some of you may not be familiar with, the black-throated sparrow. It's a resident bird. It's common. In my opinion, I think it's one of the most beautiful sparrows in North America. So this is in the desert scrub, the grasslands off 179 between the VOC and I-17, Beaverhead Flats, in between here and Cottonwood, out of the grasslands and desert scrub. Isn't that a beautiful bird? And a beautiful song. Okay, here's some, these are the cutest little birds, and they're right at our fingertips. These are resident birds primarily riparian, but you will get this guy at your feeder in West Sedona. I've had him at my feeder. The bridal titmice, verdant, I call these guys little lemon heads. They're so cute. They're also known as master nest builders. If you're out birding with somebody, they'll show you the nest, and they are just amazing. They can build multiple nests during the year. All right, busybodies, bush tits. So this time of year, if you're out sitting in your backyard looking out at the juniper trees, and all of a sudden you start seeing these little round blobs with long tails, just all of a sudden just starting to hop to a tree more and more and more. And they just kind of like, they're like gymnasts. They're like doing handsprings and cartwheels, working the understory. They just kind of tumble through the understory, bush tits, cutest little things. But this time of year, when they get into breeding season, they're just going to all kind of go their separate ways. Ruby crowned kinglet, great little bird, winter bird, cute little guy, tough little bird, very busy. It's constantly moving. It's flicking its wings at like subsonic speed to flush out little insects. Very curious. You can be out birding, sitting there, and you'll see a kinglet, and sometimes they'll just come right over to you on a branch. They'll just kind of look you out, and if you're lucky, they'll open up their ground feathers. The males, when they're alarmed or aroused, will open up their ground feathers, hence the ruby crown right there. Cute little guy. This is our wren du jour of the West, the Buick's wren. Wrens are spicy, they're fussy, and they're cavity nesters. If you've got nesting boxes, they'll nest close to your house. And they used to be all over the United States. The house wren, which is very aggressive, territorial, pushed to the west. So cute little Buick's wrens. Warblers, here we go. These are small, beautiful, colorful birds that we have. Most of the ones we have are summer. This guy here, yellow rump warbler, is our primary winter warbler, still around. How many of you guys have been seeing yellow rumps? Okay. We don't have the numbers we used to have, but they're still around. This is a male, and he is all ready for action. The ones in the west is the Audubon's variety with a yellow throat. Those of you guys who have birded in the east, the myrtle, white throat. Sometimes we get myrtle show up here. Red-faced warbler, tiny, precious little warbler, summer bird, going to be up on Mingus or Oak Creek Canyon, possibly Boynton Canyon. Just the cutest little bird when you see these guys. Some more beautiful warblers. We get the black-throated gray, just a beautiful bird with that yellow on the wall. Going to be up too in the cottonwood, kind of dancing around in the leaves and kind of sometimes hard to see. And warblers, a lot of times their calls and their songs are very similar. So it's tricky sometimes. Painted redstart is mostly in the summer, and this bird is like a flamingo dancer with that tail, just kind of flew and hopping around, dancing around in the trees, flaring out its tail. Kind of a twofold purpose, to flush out insects and also to impress the female. Okay, birds make me laugh, and one of our favorite comedy entertainments is the Gambel's quail. These are precocial, so right out of the egg, they're on their feet, they can see, they've got their down, they've got their feathers, and they're feeding on their own. So these are the cutest little guys, and it's just so fun to watch them out in the desert scrub, following their parents, 13 or 14 of them. We're very fortunate we have these wonderful birds to keep us company and entertain us. Bush tits, talked about them a little earlier. How many of you seen this at your feeder on the suet? I mean, it's exactly what you'll see when they come through. They're just the neatest little birds. Okay, more comedians. The yellow-breasted chat is a summer bird, and they're on their way. And when they get here, believe me, you'll hear them. And one of the things why I think they're funny to me, maybe not to others, is the yellow-breasted chat. The male will come out and he'll just float, and he'll put his wings back and his chest out, his head back. And he looks really kind of dopey and silly. And that is what gets her attention. And at the same time, he's making all these noises. He's a mimic. So chats are all over the United States, and depending on where they're located is what they're going to mimic. So they'll be here soon. You go out to the Black Hawk Trail above in ponds or the wetlands, you'll hear tons of them up there. This is another funny bird to me. I love the acorn woodpecker. Going to be up in Mingus, Oak Creek Canyon, Boynton Canyon, Fay Canyon, up in the alpine areas. It's just a gregarious bird. They're always talking to each other. They're just hilarious. These are the ones that are just on a dead huge snag, ponderosa pine snag. There may be 1,000 holes. These are the one constantly getting the acorns and putting them in a hole. If they like the hole, they'll put it in a hole. So it's just it's kind of a fun bird to watch. All right, singers. Getting to be that time of year, folks. And how many of you have been hearing northern cardinals?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, they're already getting tuned up. All right. So cardinals are, and this is of course what we hear, very, very
Yeah.
What's interesting about cardinals is they do a lot of countersinging. And they're serial monogamous, which means they'll, male and female pair will stay together for years. And this time of year, especially when courtship, that's another fun thing to watch with birds. The male will start a song, and the female will complete it. Kind of a love conversation they're having. Or the male, big male over here, will do a full song. This is my patch. I'm the man. This is my patch. And then another cardinal over here is like, okay, I respect that. This is my patch. Listen to me. So there's a lot of communication going on with birds. To our ears, the songs and the calls sound pretty much the same, but to their ears, it's different. There is specific communication going on with these guys. Lucy's warblers is another cute little bird. This is a summer bird. They're some of our first arriving migrants, so they should be here soon. They're going to be up in the canopy in the tree. This thing's not on a whole lot. There we go. I think it's finally working. It is little tiny bird way up in the canopy. You probably won't see it, but if you go out to the Black Hawk Trail or the wetlands, you'll hear this constantly from that little tiny bird. More singers. Crystal Crasher. Always kind of looks like he's angry. Resident bird, kind of in your pinyon pine woodlands. And the cool thing about this bird is they won't sing during the winter, but they'll sit up and they're mimics too, kind of like a mockingbird. And down in the lower elevations, like Camp Verde, you can get confused with the mockingbird. Cool bird, very, very, I mean, he's just really focused. Ascot flycatcher is one of my favorite. It is a summer bird, and it's going to be more on the kind of the hiking trails around like Little Horse and West Sedona, kind of in the juniper habitat. And something about this bird, you know, as you become birding, you fall in love with birds, and you fall in love with different birds because they speak to you. And the Ascot flycatcher, to me, is a very gentle, soft, kind bird. Teaches me those things. And I love their call. I love their little song. It's just beautiful. I just love that. It just speaks to me. So it's just so much fun when they get here and they start singing, and you can, and if you learn those songs, you don't even have to see it. You go, there they are. That's my friend. They made it back. Okay, canyon wren. Famous wren of the canyons, and they are already doing their wonderful descending call. We've all probably heard that. Little tiny bird just sings his heart out in those canyons. This time of year, it's really not easy to see them because they're up in the canyon walls, but in the wintertime, they will drop down and feed on the canyon floor, so you can better time to see them. Bell's vireo is, this is the summer bird, and it's an example. It's really, really unique song. And they like to stay really secretive and really hidden, but you'll be walking on the trail and you're going to hear this strange song. My friend Kate Hoffman says, which way, which top? Which way, which top? You can kind of come up with little monikers for the bird songs and calls that kind of keep you current with them. All right, they're on their way. Birds of prey, my favorite species. I just think that there is such a beauty in the purity and the nobility of the hunt. It's just amazing. These creatures are amazing. Okay, bald eagle versus osprey. Well, most of our bald eagles in Arizona go north to the big rivers and streams to breed in the summertime. We do have a subspecies called the southern bald eagles who are here year round. There's a pair out at Dead Horse State Park that are there year round that breed close by. So they are around. The osprey is our summer bird, and they will be here really soon. And they are the number one fishermen from the air in the world. Very cosmopolitan bird. It's on every continent except Antarctica. Every continent. So they have this little dance that these two do. You may have seen it, where osprey, of course, is the hunter, catches the fish. And a cool thing about osprey, when you see the fish in the talons, the head's pointed forward. It's an aerodynamic feature for smooth flying. So the osprey catches the fish, does the work, and skulking will come the bald eagle. Stalking and harassing that osprey to try to get the osprey to drop the fish. And I have seen many rounds with these two. Agile osprey, much more agile. I've seen the osprey go way, way up high, going, you are not getting my fish. So it's it's just one of those things in nature. Red-tailed hawk. These are the master soarers of the sky. They're the most abundant raptor we have in North America. And we have a light morph. We also have a dark morph. These guys are the bodybuilders of the hawk world. I mean, look at those powerful wings. Powerful wings. This hawk is like a benchmark that we compare other hawks to. And they're just magnificent birds. They don't always have the red tail. When they're immature, the tail is white. So these guys are all over the place right now. Fun to watch. All right. Falcons. Peregrine falcon. I'm going to talk a little bit about this bird because it's so cool. They're another cosmopolitan bird that is on every continent, like the osprey. So these are like somebody compared the osprey hunting style like giving a 16-year-old the keys to a Ferrari. So when they're in a stoop, it is like a diamond. It's like a skinny diamond, straight down, about 220 miles an hour. They've been clocked at, and they take their talons and they form a strong, like a rock-like thing like this, and they'll hit their prey head on, kill it instantly. Really adept at catching birds in the air, also waterfowl. They'll also hunt mammals on the ground. This is an incredible bird. They can withstand 25 Gs. Human being, usually even NASA astronauts, maybe 8, maybe 9 Gs. So they have a thing in their membrane in their ears, which protects them from that air pressure. And you know, you can just see the guys at NASA studying this bird, like, why can't we get something like that? And they nest in the canyons and the sandstone cliffs all around Sedona, Boynton Canyon, around Twin Buttes, around Little Horse and Chapel area, those big canyons. Finesse, kestrel, this is another resident bird. This is the smallest falcon in North America. This is a male because of that blue in the wings. And these are the most incredible birds. You'll see them on the grasslands doing this in one place, skylarking, just like this, maybe for a minute, maybe for a minute and a half. And they're looking down at the ground for big grasshoppers or lizards. And they also have deflective coloration. So you could be looking at this bird from the back, and it looks like there's 2 eyes on the back. So little creatures are going, oh, that bird is looking at us. We better go on the other side. All right, common Blackhawk. This is a movie star of the Verde Valley. How many of you guys have seen the common Blackhawk? It's just a magnificent, magnificent video. We have had one overwintering individual out at the Page Springs area. And really excited for the mate to come, because when these two get together and do their courtship in the air, they call to each other. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch courtship with birds. You know, they reunite their bonds every year. It's a beautiful thing. Stronghold for the common Blackhawk is at the Page Springs area. There are a lot of nests out there. This is a target bird from birders all over the world to get this bird. And it's in our backyard. All right, this is a cool bird, the zone-tailed hawk. I mean, when you're seeing this bird, it's a summer bird, and when you see this bird above, you might look at it and think that's a turkey vulture because of this coloring. Look at that, almost exactly like a turkey vulture. But then if you look further and see that white band, so what they do is they tilt like a turkey vulture, and they have that same dihedral, that kind of V like a turkey vulture. So little creatures on the ground are going, that's a turkey vulture, we're safe. Zone-tailed hawk. It's just, I don't know, it's just, people want to see a bird. It's just one of those cool birds. Great horned owl. This is just the most abundant owl in North America. They're on multiple habitats. So I heard one in my backyard in West Sedona hooting the other morning. So they are already on eggs. These guys, we 3 days ago on our field trip, we heard one and we went and spotted it, and it was on a big raptor nest. So great horned owls, as you know, do not build nests. That's below them. They don't build nests. They just acquire a nest. I like this nest. We're going to take it. Or they might be in a big, giant, dead stump down in there. So this guy, we found him, and it was in a probably could have been a Blackhawk nest from last year, or maybe a Cooper's hawk nest. And the owlet's coming out. They're so fun to watch. Okay, more birds of prey. Coopers. Resident bird, everybody's familiar with the coop. I put the this. Oh,
Well,
uh-oh.
I don't know why that happened.
I'm glad he's here.
Okay.
Okay. Oh,
Oop.
okay. 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 So I put both of these on here because this is the immature Coopers with the streaking, and this is the adult. And Coopers are sippers. They have that long tail. They use it like a rudder to dart in between trees and bushes. They're just amazing creatures, picking up birds in midair and birds on the ground. Ferruginous hawks. This is a winter bird. This is the largest buteo in North America, and we get them in the winter here, mostly on the agricultural fields, in the farmland, and on the grasslands. Look at that bird. God, they're beautiful. My personal favorite, the northern harrier. There's something mystical about this bird. It's got a disc shape owl face. So when you see it, when it turns and you see it, it looks just like a face of an owl. And the reason it has that is because primarily it hunts by sound. It also uses its eyes, but it hunts by sound. This is a male. We call it the gray ghost. And you'll see them flying low over the marsh, maybe over Sedona wetlands or in the grasslands, really low and really slow, and they're hunting. It's just amazing. And they've got that white on the front. Just beautiful birds. Okay, I like these two birds. Smooth operators. I just think they're cool. Loggerhead shrike, the butcher bird. You can be out on Beaverhead Flats or in a desert scrub in the grasslands, and you'll see a bright white round thing way over there on top of juniper. Probably a shrike. These are the ones that impale their prey like on a mesquite thorn. So incredible hunters. Merlin is probably my favorite bird of all the birds in the Verde Valley. I just think it's cool. It's a cool bird. Fierce hunter. This is a dashing falcon. This is just one step up from the kestrel. This is our second smallest falcon, the Merlin. And this, when you see this bird hunt, it's got a different MO. It is hunting with purpose. I mean, they don't mess around. When you see a Merlin, it's like, whoa, who's that? That's a Merlin. So this is like the James Bond of birds, and this is like the Jason Bourne. I kind of put little monikers with them because, you get to know these birds, or I get to know these birds on an intimate level. They're my friends, and I get to know them, and I see the same birds, and it's just a wonderful world to be in. We get to peek into their secret world. When you're out in the field by yourself, maybe off the grid, somewhere by yourself in the woods, listening and watching, it's just like a kind of a magical world takes over. All right, hunting in the sky, white-throated swifts, summer birds on their way. These are some of the most accomplished flyers in North America. They're going to be hanging out kind of in the canyons. They nest in the big kind of cracks in the canyon walls. There's the one big nest in Bear Alcove and Pulaski. They spend most of their lives in the air. They feed in the air, and they mate in the air. White-throated swifts will come together way up high and completely drop together like this. And right before they get to the ground, they separate. That's how they mate. Isn't that cool? So if you go out in some of the canyons in the summer, in the evening, hundreds and hundreds of them will be coming into those cracks to roost for the night. In the east, some of the swifts, like the chimney swifts, spend their entire lives in the air, except when they nest. They sleep in the air. They do everything in the air. More aerial acrobats. The violet green swallow, northern roughwing are our two most prolific swallows in the area. We also have 3 other swallow species, but these are the main events, and they are already here. Saw some of these 3 days ago at Bubbling Ponds. Swallows are amazing. Their swifts are white-throated swifts way up high, feeding on arthropods, way up there. And sometimes you don't even know they're up there. You're maybe looking at a red-tailed hawk with your binoculars, and you see all these black dots up there. They look really small. Wingspan of a swift, 16 inches. These guys, kind of the same MO, but low over water, low over ponds, eating insects. Bubbling ponds and the Sedona wetlands in the evening, you can go out there. There are just hundreds and hundreds of them. Okay, what's not to love about that? So turkey vultures are underappreciated and underloved, in my opinion, and I love them. They're actually very clean because they have no facial hair. So these are keystone species. All vultures are keystone species. This is a New World vulture, so it's only in the Americas. These are the cleaners of the planet. We would be in big trouble without these birds. Their acid in their stomach is like battery acid. So anything goes in there, anything. They're amazing creatures. And when they're hot, they cool themselves off by peeing on your legs. You get to know these birds, like, you get to know each individual bird, even if it's like a real showy, flashy bird, or maybe just a dull, boring bird. They've each got unique, special things about them. Multiple, and it's like going out and discovering what that is with each bird and learning new things about them. It's just a fascinating thing to do. Okay, backyard visitors, feeder birds, kind of some of the guys you might be familiar with. Here we go. There we are, male and female house finch, male goldfinch, and juniper titmouse. Now the juniper titmouse, this is a really cool bird. Let's see if I can get that on there. And they will come to your feeder. This is a little tiny bird, this little tiny guy, and you'll start hearing it be doing this. Her glowing voice you'll hear. So they'll come to your feeder, all three of these guys will. Okay, cardinals, of course, come to your feeders. Here's another visitor. The ladderback, which is a resident bird, common in the Southwest. They'll come to your suet and they'll come to your other one, your hummingbird feeder. They love sweet stuff. Here's some more backyard feeder birds. These guys operate on the ground. Spotted towhee and the canyon towhee. These are resident birds, and they're on the ground, kind of quiet. Spotted towhee is the one that does that kind of loud meow. Really a neat bird, but what they're starting to do right now, because it's that time of year, is those males are sitting up on top of the juniper. So if you hear that in your backyard, that's the male spotted towhee kind of getting geared up for breeding season. He will also go up after, if he has a successful brood, he'll go up on top of a juniper tree and do the same thing, like smoking a cigar. I did it. It's all me. I did it. Canyon towhee is not as flashy, but they're around too. Morning doves. We all love morning doves. Very common. These guys are everywhere. They can have up to 10 broods a year. Especially down in the lower Sonoran Desert. They're so highly predated on. So many predators from the air, from the ground. They're actually really beautiful morning doves. They're really vulnerable and slow on the ground. They make a messy nest, but when they're flying, they're like bullets in the sky. So during the winter, still, we have a lot of these guys around on the ground and deer feeder. Dark-eyed juncos. This is a winter bird. We have 6 different species of dark-eyed juncos in Arizona. This is the Oregon species. This is our most common one in the Verde Valley. So dark-eyed juncos. How many of you guys have seen dark-eyed juncos? Yeah. Okay, and the arrival of the beautiful summer birds. They're coming. We have 3 orioles in the Verde Valley. This is the hooded. This is the one you'll see mostly at your feeder. They're just gorgeous, and they'll be on your suet. They love the hummingbird feeder. The summer tanager will come as well. This is the male summer tanager. He's all red. The female is all yellow, and they are spectacular birds when they get here. They kind of sound like a robin. When they get here, and then they'll kind of shift to the call. Chris. It's unmistakable in the canopy. So that call, call, and then what I think, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think this is like their love call, their chatter between mates in the breeding pair. So who knows? But you know, I don't know, but maybe who knows? So they're a lot of fun when they get here. Mostly out in the riparian corridors in the big trees, but you'll get them at your feeders in West Sedona as well. Okay, here are the fashion models. Look at these guys. I mean, these are like high fashion. I think you see that faded peplum on a Chanel runway. Yeah. They're really sleek. This is a flycatcher. They're actually in their own category called a silky flycatcher. And they'll be on top of the tree and they'll go off to get a fly and come back down. And when you see them fly, they've got those 2 white windows, unmistakable bird. Another beauty is the cedar waxwing. Flocking bird, they're nomads, they roam all over the Verde Valley looking for berries, one to see junipers, pyracantha. So cedar waxwings, there haven't been that many of them here this winter. All right, raiders and hunters in your backyard or in general. Scrub jays, woodhouse and scrub jays. These are in the top 10 smartest birds in the United States. It's a corvid, like a crow or a raven. All corvids are super smart. These guys are massively intelligent. They hunt in packs, like coyotes and Harris's hawks. They'll come in your backyard and take it over. And they'll make a lot of noise and raucous. They'll chase the mother birds out of the nest. They'll eat the eggs or eat the young. So very clever, very intelligent. And then, of course, your backyard. The coopers sitting quietly. You could be out in the backyard looking at all the beautiful birds singing and frolicking, and then all of a sudden, whoop, everybody goes. Probably a hen or she is kind of lurking around. Look at those eyes. He's like serious. Okay. Hummingbirds. Oh, I love hummingbirds. Arizona is the best state in the country for hummingbirds. There's something like, it's a New World species. There's something like 356 species in the world. They're almost all in South America. There's 15 known breeders. In North America, 17, probably including vagrants and transients coming through. We have the year-round beautiful anise. This is a stout, strong hummer, been here all winter. Amazing, amazing, amazing birds. Tough. This is our summer black chin hummingbird coming in. They're very common in the summer, coming up from Mexico to breed. These are all males, by the way. The costas, not as abundant, not as many, but they are here. They are around and they do breed. And when they're doing their their display, that gorget goes out to both sides like this. Right. Just a beautiful, beautiful creature. Okay, transients. I mentioned fall migration earlier. This is probably the best time to see these 3. Not exclusively. You could probably get maybe a rufous coming up in the spring, but hummingbirds in the spring migration follow the food, the flowers kind of up the west coast. And then in the fall, they follow the food and the flowers down through the Rocky Mountains and they come through Arizona. So these are transients coming through. They bulk up, they double their body weight. And when this guy comes through, you know it, right? The rufous, when he gets here, he doesn't mess around. He will completely take charge and feed her. This is the longest migrating hummingbird in the world. Upwards to 4,000, 5,000 miles, the ones that breed up in Alaska. Wow. The calliope is the smallest hummingbird in North America. You'll see those at your feeders. And then the broadtail. Those are like mountain breeding birds. So you can get all 6 hummingbirds in the Verde Valley. If you really want a hummingbird show, go down to Southeast Arizona. So Arizona is a great state for hummingbirds. Okay, blue collar workers. These guys are in the steel mill, carpenters, woodpeckers, carving out those holes. And they're the ones, every single year, they carve out a new hole to nest in. They don't reuse a hole. They do it brand new. That's why there are so many holes in trees when you look around in dead stumps. But look at all the species that take advantage of that. A lot of cavity nesting species like titmice and Lucy's warblers. Unfortunately, starlings, nuthatches. This is the ladderback. And this is our beautiful northern flicker. What a beautiful picture. In the west, we have the northern flicker, the red shafted. So we have the kind of the red and orange in the shafts. For those of you who bird in the east, same bird, yellow shafted. So it would be yellow. This northern flicker has the longest tongue of any woodpecker in North America. It extends 2 inches past the end of their bill for going in there, getting little insects and eating ants. And when they retract it, and I've actually seen it, they retract it like this. It comes in like this, wraps around their skull. It's just, amazing. Gila, this is a male. This is a very, very common woodpecker in the riparian areas. You cannot go out to the wetlands or any of the riparian areas, bubbling ponds, without hearing these guys. Prairie woodpecker is more of an alpine bird up in Mingus and in the canyons, but sometimes they will drop down into the valley. Prairie woodpecker. Red-necked sapsucker. This is a cool bird, and this is a winter bird. And these are the guys. If you ever look at a tree and you see these perfectly symmetrical dots going across, maybe 15 or 20, perfectly lined up, mathematical, and then another line, and then another line, and then another line. Sap. And they're drilling in there for sap. And the cool thing about sapsuckers and other species, what as hummingbirds eat in the winter? How do they stay alive? Other than our feeders and insects, they'll follow these guys around, and I've actually seen this. Yellow warblers will do the same thing. These guys will do the work, get to the sap. Hummingbird will go in there and pull out a little sap. So will a yellow warbler. Really neat to watch. All right, here's our 2 phoebes that we have. There's 3 phoebes in North America. Those of you in the East are familiar with the Eastern phoebe. You can get the other 2 phoebes right here. Very easy, resident birds, mostly in the riparian areas. Sage phoebes will be in West Sedona. They'll nest right around your house. So these are both flycatchers, just precious little birds. To me, they're all girls because they're all so sweet, cool, and sweet. And there's no sexual dimorphism, so. Okay, the show-offs. Oh my gosh, vermilion flycatcher. Beautiful, beautiful bird. How many of you guys have seen the vermilion? It's a showstopper. We had one 2 days ago on our Audubon field trip. So this is the male. And he's a flycatcher. He likes to sit out. He likes to show himself. He's very kind of a display. What is all that bumping back there?
I think it's your.
Is it? Oh, it's this thing. Is that better? It's this thing.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
It's your wind out of your mouth.
Okay.
You're breathing. Yeah. Stop breathing.
Okay. Here's another showy. This is a male yellow warbler summer bird. They like to sit up in the canopy and sing and sing and sing. In David Sibley's book, I've got it here, What's It Like to Be a Bird? He talks about certain birds that are kind of full of themselves, And this is one of them right here, that yellow warbler. You can be out birding and hear this bird and not see it, and all of a sudden you'll see this magnificent flash of yellow. Okay, winter bluebirds. Oh gosh, I love bluebirds. Western bluebirds, we don't have that as many this year we've had in the past, but we do have western bluebirds all over West Sedona. These are nomad berry eaters. They're going to go those, not the Utah junipers with the little onesie, those little kind of small pink little berries on the onesie juniper. They love them. Hackberries, pyracantha. And you'll see them, you'll hear them. You'll see them flying over in their flocks, and there's no organization, nobody's in charge. They really kind of scatter, kind of like that, and they're talking to each other and kind of flying around, and then they'll kind of pounce on a tree. Mountain bluebird, unfortunately, we haven't had hardly any this winter. Last winter, we had a good amount. These guys are going to be out in the grasslands, out maybe Beaverhead Flats on those tanks, drinking water in a dry year. Beautiful birds. That's a male. Both of these guys are males. Let me just look at those birds. More Morgan's bluebirds. Summer. Blue grosbeak. These are both males in that big honker. Grosbeak is riparian. These are both riparian birds. Going to be kind of, along the Verde and Oak Creek. Indigo bunting, we don't have a lot of them. They're not abundant. But when you see one of these guys, it'll take your breath away. Those of you in the East, it's more common, but we do get them here. And this is what they look like. This is exactly what they look like. Okay, a couple of water birds. The great blue heron, which is the most common long-legged wader in North America. And they're all over the place. They'll be on the bubbling ponds, they'll be at the wetlands, and they're strategic hunters. They will plant themselves on the edge of a body of water and just freeze, and they're studying fish, trajectory, speed, trajectory, speed. And then they don't go to the fish, they let the fish come to them. Smart. They'll also be out in the fields hunting pocket gophers. Yeah. And have you ever seen them with a pocket gopher? How do they get it down their throat? I've seen them take pocket gophers over to bubbling ponds and grease their gillet with water to get it down. His pocket gopher was like this big. I mean, really. Belted kingfisher. What a cool bird. Good size, about 9 inches, 9.5 inches. This is the female with that rufous here and rufous here. The male has more like just blue here. You will almost always hear this bird before you see it. Sounds like a rattlesnake in the sky, and they're very, very territorial. They will go from quadrant to quadrant at bubbling ponds, just like patrolling their territory. And in late fall, they vie for territory. So, and bubbling ponds is a hot spot. So they will compete with their fledglings. They'll compete with their mate. You might see 5 of them out there chasing each other around. And this year, the female won bubbling ponds. That's why I have it there. Wood ducks. This is what they look like right now. And they breed here. They breed out of bubbling ponds. But as strange as this is, the best place to see them right now, some of you may know this, is the Del Rio Pond off 260. You guys know where that is? Off Del Rio Road, take a left off 260, you go down to that little pond. There's maybe 15 of them down there. So this is the male, and this time of year, they're all dolled up, and they're beautiful. And when these are the ones that nest high up in a tree, the female goes way up there, and once she nests, and once they start to fall, they can't fly, they come out of the hole and they just fall on the ground like little yogis. And she's at a body of water calling them, and they waddle over to her. So you'll see them at bubbling ponds, could have up to 13 in a brood. And then he deserts her, completely deserts her after that. There's some beautiful winter waterfowl. The best place for winter waterfowl, probably the wetlands, but you sometimes need a scope. Bubbling ponds is good as well. These are both males. Green-winged teal and canvasback. God, canvasbacks are gorgeous. That ski slope bill. These guys are out at bubbling ponds. Green-winged teals have been here all winter. Hooded merganser and bufflehead. These are common winter visitors, waterfowl. Now, you know, we don't have a lot of open water here. We have a few places, but you will see them. These guys are also at Del Rio Pond. It's kind of a cool place to go. This is the male. And the wonderful thing about waterfowl this time of year, especially as you get later in the winter, is they're in their full breeding plumage. I mean, these guys are ready to roll, and a lot of them will pair up before they head north to breed in the potholes. Hooded merganser and buffleheads, both divers. Okay, transients. I mentioned them earlier, just kind of coming up. They don't breed here, they don't summer here, they don't winter here, but they come through and they drop and they feed. So Leslie buntings, I think somebody already reported one Leslie bunting. These are males. They'll show up at your feeder, and they'll hang out for a while, like a couple of weeks. Western tanagers are going to be more out in the kind of the riparian areas, or up in the woodlands up in Mingus, and they come through as well. Now, if the mulberry trees at bubbling ponds are good this year, at the end of April, it is like a Starbucks for these birds. Oriole, tanagers, robins, phainopepla. It's just amazing when they all show up. Okay, briefly, I'm going to mention transient shorebirds. We don't have a lot of shorebird habitat in Verde Valley. Shorebird habitat, where it's kind of that mud and that sand they like to poke in. If you want best shorebird habitat in Yavapai County is over at Willow and Lawson Lakes. But we do get these guys pretty much consistently all year long. The wetlands is a great place to see transient shorebirds. Bubbling ponds is good as well. Avocets, blackneck stilts, whiteface ibis. We get the double crested cormorant and the neotropical. The double crested, they will breed and nest in Prescott at Lynx Lake. And then we get the spotted and least, we get some of these peaks. So fun to go out and see these guys when they come through. And finally, I want to end on this is my bird of the 2024, the green-tailed towhee. How many of you been seeing the green-tailed towhee? It has been everywhere. It's usually kind of secretive and hidden, and everywhere I go, I've been seeing the green-tailed towhee. What's up with that? Anyway, I just wanted to say this is my kind of my star of the year so far. I love that bird. Okay, and I'll end with all the benefits of birding. So many of them. It's really good for our mental health. I mean, we all know that, right? And every now and then a big article will come out in the Times or the Post, or saying, "Oh, by the way, birding is good for you." So it's really good. It kind of that prefrontal cortex, fight or flight part of our brains kind of calms it down. It's good. It's physical. You move. You're active. It puts you in the present moment. You're looking. You're listening. You're watching, and you're right here. It's just amazing. Keeps your brain sharp. You're using all these senses. So as the older, and I'm speaking for myself, the older I get, it helps keep my brain sharp. Opportunity to see wildlife. I mean, I've pretty much seen everything while birding. Very social. You get to meet other birders. We have a group called the Birding Broads. There's 5 of us, and we all met birding, and we bird together, and we go on cross-country trips. This year we went down to Texas. We had 166 species in a week and 22 lifers. Amazing trip. So you meet people, like-minded people, and it's a lot of fun. Moments of awe are everywhere. I'm going to tell you about 2. In Texas, there was a field where there were some beautiful white-tailed kites, and it was right across from the border. So we were on this berm, 20-foot wall, right here, right, the wall, and there's an opening. And we're parked right there in our big fancy SUV, 5 old women with their gray hair scoping these beautiful white-tailed kites, and right across the field is a Humvee with a bunch of soldiers, armed soldiers, scoping us. And we were watching the kites, and then out of the blue, a short-eared owl. Kind of another mystical creature. They're like big moths in the sky. Came out right in front of us, and they do this thing where they clap. They clap their wings. It's kind of a contact communication thing, and we were in awe. And then 2 days ago at Bubbling Ponds, we had an immature bald eagle, maybe a 3rd year, hunting. Now this bald eagle can pick up a duck if they want, right? They're pretty good at that. This is a young bird. So he was kind of piddling around, I think, trying to get a fish, and he was going right over. There were 4 lesser scaup. I mean, within a foot of the lesser scaup. And the lesser scaup, somehow they knew they were not, in danger. They just sat there. And that eagle came back and forth and back and forth. Finally, got something in the water, went up to a perch. We looked at it with our binoculars. Big bald eagle. 3-inch minnow. He was just so proud of it. He had long minnow. So you hit moments with that where you really connect with the people you're with, you connect to nature, you connect to these birds, and it's something I need in life. It's fun, it's free, it's educational, it can be really challenging when you're hunting birds and you're chasing birds, especially a rare bird. And especially when you're looking for birds and you can't see them, but you can only hear them. So it's a lot of fun. And we're done. Thanks.